All right, looks like we are ready. I will call to order the Plan Commission meeting on January 18th, 2022 at 6:32. First up is the approval of minutes from December 21. Any
Just
changes?
a correction on that.
Yeah.
You've got Lane.
I have one change, guys.
All right, I'll get, what was your change, Stephen?
That Lane is still listed on there as a attendee. And it was on November's as well, but I didn't notice until after we
Yeah.
Okay.
did it in December's meeting.
Zach, was that yours too?
That was exactly what I was going to say. I missed it on the last one, but saw it this time.
All right, any other changes? Then if someone wants to make a motion as amended, they could do that.
I motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Stephen. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't have anyone. I don't think anyone else does either. Let's see, agenda review. I would like to make one change. There's a lot of people here for G and H. If we could move that up to the fourth item. I think the first three are going to go pretty quick, but if we can make that the fourth item so that all the people who are here for that, which is a lot of the people here, someone would like
Is that
to-
under D?
if we could make it essentially G and H numbered letter D in the, well, I mean, the fourth item after C, take it up after C.
So moved. Yeah, second.
Moved by Ed, seconded by Randy. All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right. Anything else, Lisa, for the agenda? No? All right, let's get right into it. First up is a public hearing and consideration of a conditional use permit request CU 2423-22. And this is for the temporary, actually, there's already a temporary concrete plant. Is there an applicant here for this one at all? Is there anyone online at all? All right, do you want to do a staff report then?
So this one's pretty straightforward. It's a conditional use permit application to continue an existing conditional use permit that's been in existence since 2017. It's a temporary ready concrete mixing plant located on the existing Wingra quarry site just off of McKee and Capeck Road. So this would continue those operations until December 31st, 2023 to support some local road construction projects, including I think Verona Road and then with Stott as well. So this would just be a continuation of that use. Staff have not identified any concerns, and there's 3 conditions.
All right, I will open the public hearing. I don't have anyone registered, so I can close the public hearing, seeing no one here from the public, and open up to questions, comments at all. Rich?
Yeah, I got a couple here. First of all, I'm a neighbor, and they've been a good neighbor, I have to say. They've done great. But the Verona Road project is closed. Stage 3 is scheduled for 2030 if they ever do that. So I was a little thrown off by what they're doing with the Verona Road project in that document. Do you have any idea what they were referring to?
No, I did see that in the application as well, but I know that they're still doing other like DOT projects. So it may be that they are reusing the application and just included that again. We could ask them to clarify.
Yeah, I don't, there's
Yeah,
nothing
it's
that
not
I'm
going to, it's
aware
not
of.
a deal breaker.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong in.
Sure.
It's not right, but
Yeah, I think
otherwise
they
I'm good. Like
probably
I said, they've
screwed
been a
up
good neighbor.
in the application. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move approval of conditional use 2423-22 with the 3 conditions as noted. Second.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one is approved. Next up is the public hearing and consideration of a rezone request, RZ 2421-22. I think we've got someone here to tell us about what you're doing.
I think just to answer questions.
Oh, just answer questions. All right, and so there's an attorney of applicant here if we have any questions. So if there's nothing else that you would like to say, then we can go to a staff report then.
Sure. So this is technically a rezone, although it's an amendment of an existing PDD SIP. So I'll just share my screen so that everyone can be familiar with the site. Okay, so this is just right off of Fish Hatchery Road and then High Ridge Trail. And then the subject property is this one that shows Anchor Bank on the site plan. So there's a PDD zoning in place for the 3 parcels located here. And the original PDD SIP that was approved allowed for a financial institution on the building on the property. And that building has been vacant, I think, for maybe even a couple years now. And so the property owner is just looking for some more flexibility to lease that space. And we would be accomplishing that by amending the PDD SIP to allow uses permitted in the BG zoning district. And this is the same way that the retail center just to the northwest is designated, where we allow BG uses. And then any conditional use in the BG zoning district still requires approval from Plan Commission. So it would be essentially applying the same kind of zoning standards to the former bank building. The parking lot was designed to provide the appropriate parking for a retail use, so no concerns there. If we were to see like a conditional use for a use that generates more traffic, like a restaurant, then we would maybe have some concerns. But staff have not identified any concerns and have included a PDD SIP ordinance in the packet with some conditions. Those conditions include, so it's 8 conditions, and they're pretty standard. One is just noting that any conditional uses require further approval by Plan Commission. No outdoor storage is permitted, which is a carryover from the existing PDD zoning. Signage would follow Chapter 26. And then Public Works has also asked them to provide a couple of easements. One is for the benefit of the property owner, and then one is for the benefit of the city. So just kind of cleaning up some real estate items for the property.
All right, thank you. I will then open the public hearing. I don't have anyone from the public for this one either. So seeing nothing, I can close the public hearing and open up to questions, comments from Plan Commission. I guess I like the idea of having more flexibility there instead of having them tied to just one specific type of business. Anyone else? And for the motion, because all the conditions are in the ordinance, we can just say, kind of like you have it written in the staff report, where it's approval as drafted in the ordinance. Okay.
I move for approval of rezone request RZ 2421-22 as drafted in the PDD SIP ordinance enclosed in the packet by staff.
Second.
Sent by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one is approved. And next up is C. And that's the certified survey map request for Quick Trip. And I believe Kevin is online. And Brad as well. All right. I don't know which one of you would like to tell us what you have going on here, but either one of you can go ahead and tell us what you're doing.
Sure thing, I can jump in. So the certified survey map for this project is primarily for the right-of-way dedication that was proposed along East Sherrill Parkway and South Saline, and that was primarily due to the intersection improvements that KL Engineering is working on. So not looking to change the actual lot line between what you see as lot 1 and outlot 1. So that lot line is there today and will remain, but the CSM was necessary for that right-of-way dedication. This project was approved for ADR and CUP, about a month and a half ago, and we're excited to be a part of the project. And actually, if you've been driving by the site, you'll notice that some demolition has happened to a few of the existing buildings, and we're looking forward to a spring construction.
All right, thank you. Lisa, do you want to do a staff report?
Yep, so just to keep it brief, so like Kevin noted, the certified survey map was primarily just to dedicate additional right-of-way along East Sherrill Parkway. Does not change the internal lot lines, so we've gone over this a couple of times, but just stating again that the lot 1 and outlot 1 are remaining in their current zoning. So lot 1 is zoned BH, Business Highway, and outlot 1 is zoned Smart Code New Community and is reserved for future development as an outlot. So one thing to keep in mind is that any rezone or land division needs to be consistent with our comprehensive plan. And there's a mixed-use future land use designation, which, on our future land use map, which is suitable for BG and PDD zoning. So therefore, Outlot 1 could not be rezoned to business highway to accommodate a gas station. And Outlot 1 will only be used for stormwater facilities, utilities, and a driveway. And this is consistent with how we've treated outlots in other parts of the city. So no concerns there. So that's why, rather than combining the lots, they're remaining in their current configuration. And we will be asking the applicant to record a deed restriction to treat the two parcels as one. And then they'll also be providing a cross-access easement between the two. And then there are 6 conditions.
All right, don't have to do a public hearing on this one, so I can open up to questions, comments from Planning Commission. Anyone? No question, concerns, it sounds like. All right, so let's just go to straight to a motion. Randy, go ahead.
Motion to approve certified survey map request CS-2422-22 with the 6 conditions.
Second.
Sent by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is also approved. So we'll go jump down now to G and H, which is the rural event venue. And is Jeff must be here. So, hey, Jeff, come on up. Why don't you tell us what you are doing here, and we'll go from there. Sure.
Okay, thank you for your time and consideration tonight. I'm Jeff Schleicher, and this is my daughter-in-law, Erin Schleicher, and my son, David. We're here to make the presentation about the event venue, and my son and daughter-in-law have been very involved. Erin would actually be the operator of the event venue. We also have here Nate Greeny from 1848 Construction, Steve Schulfer from Sketchwork Architects, and Ron Kloss shortly from D'Onofrio Kotke. They're our engineer. So our vision for this started over 4 years ago as my 4 children were all getting married, and we witnessed a huge demand and a huge shortage in supply of dedicated wedding venues, a shortage that continues today. I have some farming roots, and Erin grew up in the country and has extensive event planning and marketing experience. So we have an appreciation for rural Fitchburg, and we felt this is a need we could do something about, with Fitchburg being a great location with its mix of urban and rural areas. I've personally lived over half my life in Fitchburg. We met with city officials and staff early in the process to get their input, and this was followed by a community survey in conjunction with the update of the comprehensive plan. The survey showed overwhelming support, over 93%, for a rural wedding venue, and thus the comprehensive plan included an allowance for such a venue. This was followed by a passage of an amendment to city ordinance, which created a conditional use permit process specifically for rural event venues with some very stringent restrictions. We talked with and listened to the neighbors and incorporated their input into the design we are bringing you tonight. We searched all over Fitchburg and determined this was an ideal location. It's close to the urban service area with vendors, hotels, ride sharing, transportation. It was easy and safe access, and the property had excellent topography with seclusion. It's been a very long time to get to this point, but it gave us lots of time to listen, adjust, and get things right. And we think we've done a good job with the help of everyone's input to get it right. We listened to the market and the Fitchburg public that expressed a strong desire for an event venue. We listened to the fire department, who finds existing barns used for weddings to be a fire hazard and would have preferred to see fire protection sprinkler systems. So we focused on new construction, and the plans incorporate an entire building sprinkler system, a driveway designed for the turnaround needs of the fire department's largest vehicle, and direct access to 2 sides of the building. We listened to Public Works and made sure our driveway and parking had gentle slopes. ensuring ADA accessibility, and that the driveway is located for safe egress and ingress. Our engineers did the work to ensure there is proper stormwater management and erosion control. We listened to the planning department staff who helped make sure we complied with all the components of the rural event venue ordinance and exceeded the minimum requirements. All of those many details were in the conditional use application. We listened to Economic and Development Department who supports what this could do to enhance various businesses in Fitchburg. And we listened to you, appointed and elected committee members, and we added retail space and additional storage space for our crop production and retail sales business. And we listened to the neighbors and included in our plans a berm and plantings to the south, a hedge to the south of the parking lot so that trees surround the entire property. We eliminated a large sliding patio door to the west, and we designed the building to contain any noise. We also modified our closing time as planned from originally midnight to 11 o'clock p.m. on weekends and 10 o'clock p.m. for any rare weekday events. The lighting is full cutoff, and the lighting plan in the CUP application clearly shows there is no spillage to any other properties. And we minimized the footprint and left over 95% of the property in woods and the continuation of crop growing. So we're really preserving the rural nature of this piece of property. Our rural event venue will be located on the 31-acre parcel on Burn Road, but we only have a footprint of less than 2 acres, with the remaining 29 acres remaining in woods and tilled acres, including the growing areas immediately to the north and south of this facility for the crop production part of our business plan. The location is ideal with cropland and a railroad and wetlands to the west, hills, trees, and cropland to the north, and Highway 14 directly to the east. Highway 14 provides ample white noise to the south. The driveway off Burn Road is on the outside of a gentle curve, providing excellent sight lines. The city transportation engineer concurred with its location and had no traffic concerns. He felt this was going to produce so little traffic it did not warrant a traffic study. And the ingress and egress is safer on a seldom traveled road than on a busy county highway. And traffic is spread out with no mass exodus after the events. And we will encourage highly ride sharing and shuttles. The building itself is approximately 11,000 square feet, designed to host wedding ceremonies, receptions, other community and corporate events, and also support the production and retail sale of agricultural products. The area will support a gravity-based standard septic system and drain field, and will have a dedicated well. As you see on the floor plans and the elevations, the stable barn exterior style will be very attractive and fit well within the rural setting, with views for the guests oriented to the west, overlooking farmland and wetlands, and adding a beautiful landmark to rural Fitchburg for anyone visiting or passing by. So the project will preserve the rural character of the property and add a beautiful community asset for celebrating family events. Fitchburg community functions and will enhance rural tourism. It adds significantly to the Fitchburg tax base without a commensurate increase in cost. And it helps support other Fitchburg businesses such as caterers, hotels, florists, transportation and ride sharing, etc. And in addition, we will provide employment opportunities for the rural neighborhood. The end result is a safe and beautiful structure that will enhance the neighborhood, preserve the rural nature of the area, and provide a beautiful environment for the celebration of life events and other community meetings, while increasing appreciation for the beauty and importance of rural Fitchburg. So I guess that's our introduction to the project, and presumably you've all had at least some chance to look at the conditional use application. And we certainly encourage whatever questions you might have. We've really tried to put together a nice property here to enhance the city of Fitchburg.
All right. First, we'll do staff report and then community feedback and then discussion, stuff like that. So Lisa, if you could do a staff report, that'd be great.
Sure. So as noted by the applicant, in August 2021, Council adopted an ordinance amendment to allow rural event venues as a conditional use permit in the small lot agricultural zoning district. And this was evaluated by Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee as well as Plan Commission. So that is what enabled this application to move forward. So I'll just share my screen so we can take a look at the site plan. Okay, and then just to orient everybody really quickly, I also just pulled up our online map. So this is the subject parcel here. As you can see, it's Highway 14, Burn Road, and then the railroad track, and some existing residential houses across the street and to the west. So this is the site plan. You can see that the venue is on the eastern part of the property, the driveway coming off of Burn Road, parking, and we have the structure, septic, and then they've also dedicated 2 areas for growing products that would be sold in the agricultural retail area that's shown on the site plan, which is a requirement of the ordinance that for any new structure, they either provide agricultural entertainment uses or an agricultural retail component. So for the agricultural retail component, they would be growing, I think in their application, they note like seasonal products like pumpkins and lavender, and they would be growing that in these areas shown here. And then they have a kind of small retail space in the building as well. And then they would host sort of seasonal events to sell those products. So this is the site plan, and then you can also see they did also do a wetland delineation to show that all the structures and pavement would be outside of the 300-foot buffer, which is a requirement of our comprehensive plan. So there's a wetland here, and then the 300-foot buffer, and everything's located on the other side of that. And then I'll just give a brief overview, and perhaps the applicant would want, their architect to comment on anything else. They're welcome to do so. So per the ordinance, we require any new structure to have an agrarian style of architecture. So, you can see here that they've modeled it after a barn. I think this is sort of a typical structure for a barn-like building. So we have white and then like a kind of wooden building material as well as black shutters. That's the front of the structure, side. This is the east elevation. And then this is the rear of the building. And then this is the west elevation. So they've got a couple of doors, but as the applicant noted, they had removed like a patio kind of sliding door component of the project. So that's sort of the, I guess, the architecture, the site plan. We can take a look at the floor plan as well. So this is the front of the building here. They have the entry room. This is the retail component here in the corner. They have bar space, sort of the bride and groom buildings before the wedding, seating, and then here they have the storage. And this would be used, obviously for the event space, but then also for equipment related to that agricultural retail use. So getting more to the operations of the project. So this is all, per details included in the application, but I'll just give a quick overview. So they are primarily expecting events, on, I think, Friday and Saturday, with about 75 weddings per year with the potential of 25 other events, such as like corporate events or community events. Proposed hours of operation are Friday to Saturday would be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday to Thursday would be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. The building has a maximum capacity of 300. They're providing 96 parking stalls. They would expect 1 full-time employee and then 10 part-time employees. It's about a 10,000 square foot structure. So for staff evaluation, just commenting on the parking. So for the other rural event venue that we approved, we used a 1 stall per 3 seat. So we used the parking standards that we use for event spaces. So if we apply the same standard here for a 300-person event, they would be expected to provide about 100 stalls. They're providing 96, so no concerns there from a staff perspective, and they also have room available for overflow parking. Public Works reviewed the application, and they didn't have any major concerns in terms of the parking and the driveway location. They felt that that was appropriate. They did ask the applicant to just verify that they're meeting the rural driveway standards in terms of the actual construction of the driveway and the ADA accessibility requirements. So those are addressed as conditions of approval. And then, for conditional use permits, it's recommended that an applicant hold a neighborhood meeting, but it's not required. And per the applicant, they did contact, adjacent property owners and received feedback from them primarily about like noise, lighting, and traffic, and tried to address those comments. And I'm sure Jeff can provide more information on the kind of feedback he received from neighbors as well. So staff recommendation is for approval of the conditional use permit with 4 conditions, including a deed restriction noting that the rural event venue use has been approved, as well as a right to farm statement as well. And then architectural design review was recommended for approval with 6 conditions, with all of them being standard except for that one addressing outstanding comments regarding the driveway standard and the ADA accessibility.
All right, thank you. We've got, I can now open the public hearing. We've got a number of people here that either want to speak or have written comments that I will read. And just a reminder that the public has 3 minutes to speak. I've got Mark Jones to speak first, and then Jared Lynch will be after that. So Mark, if you want to come up maybe over here and speak. Or maybe, if you can slide over a little bit. I think we got enough room, but we got a microphone over here. All these microphones work, so you can go over here or whatever.
Mark Jones, 2266 South Sain Road, Fitchburg. I am on Ag and Rural. We did address this at Ag and Rural, and I assume there'll be a report issued from Ag and Rural. So I won't waste your time on that. I am the joining neighbor to the north. I support the concept. I can't support the location. Burn Road is a narrow, dangerous road. If you go to the east from this location, it's curvy, and there's to the south, the marsh is on the south, and to the north, the ditch is really deep and steep. So this traffic is a concern. I did speak with our Public Works Department today, and they said, I asked if they evaluated the road, and they said they did not. They evaluated only the access to the, where the driveway comes out. And it would affect, I'm worried about noise and the lighting. It will prevent any hunting on my property, per my insurance company. They said if I allow someone to hunt and there's an issue there, I am automatically at least a portion liable if there's an issue. So we have, I also had a discussion with the police department today for if there was any concerns. They said they didn't address concerns at all for that. When we first looked at this in Ag and Rural, I was under the understanding that they would try to push the building to the north more in the untilled area so that it would save some farmland and keep it in tillable. And they could have done that. They chose not to. Maybe it was a cost. I'm not sure what the cost reason was, but they did not. This summer, there were 6 accidents on Burn Road that required being towed out. And that was in the summer. So if you look at the other times of the year, it's a problem. When you exit the place, the proposal to the east, the road I talked about to the east. If you go to the west, there's a railroad crossing, of which we still have not had any success in getting a stop sign put on that railroad crossing. So I would urge that if this were approved, that at least do that. They said there's 100 events, which on average is an event every 4 days. So this is going to affect the neighborhood quite a little bit. So
If you could.
anyway, I can't support it. And I hope, if you do allow it, I hope that the driveway is moved so that it doesn't shine directly into the neighbors' houses, which if you look at your proposal now, all of those cars and trucks will be even worse, or buses that are a little taller will shine directly into those houses across the street. Moving it to the west, the Public Works said they would not have a problem with that as long as it's slightly to the west. Anyway, the proposal was done well. I give the Slakers a lot of credit. The location is just something I can't support. Thank you.
Mark? All right, we got Jared Lynch next, and then Jamison Lynch after that.
Gerard Lynch, 5029 Burn Road. I live right directly across where this building is going to be built. My concerns are traffic, noise, lighting, water runoff into Murphy Creek, which ends up going into Lake Wabisa. If they miss the driveway there, whose driveway are they going to turn around in? One of our 5. They're going to be going in and out of them all the time. I'm born and raised on Burn Road, and we used to be able to walk the road, ride a bike down the road, everything. You can't do that no more. You can hardly go walk across the road to get my mail because traffic on that road. And to add 100 cars every Friday and Saturday night is ridiculous. And I think with the drinking and stuff, you can say what you want, but everybody's been at these events and seen people drinking and leaving. Them 4 or 5 cars that went off the road this summer, they might not all been drinking, and they went off the road. So it's not a good deal. And I think all the farmers that lived around there that Fitchburg never supported just rolled over in their grave tonight. Thank you.
Jamison, you are next, and then Brian Holland after that.
Hello, my name is Jamison Lynch, and I live at 5035 Burn Road, which from what I could tell of the pictures, which I hadn't seen before, my driveway would be directly across from where their driveway would be. I have several concerns about putting an event venue on Burn Road. The major one would be the noise, as far as how many decibels they'd be allowed, as far as having music, stuff like that. I noticed in that photo that the west side of the building had doors that could be open, so if in the summer they open them doors, that would pretty much be like having an outside music event. The sound of the cars, the big thing would be at 4 o'clock every Saturday afternoon, I would know that there's a wedding reception going on as the procession of horns blowing to the reception venue gets there. I'm in a house that does not have air conditioning, unfortunately, so my windows are open all summer long that way. Sound would be the big thing. The extra traffic on Burn Road, speed limit's 40 miles an hour. I know there have been several vehicles that I've seen, and there have been ticketed vehicles doing in excess of 75 to 80 miles an hour on that road. Mark addressed the fact that there's a railroad crossing on that road. There are no warning lights on that railroad crossing at all to mark if a train is coming. I would be concerned as far as the roadway with the drunk drivers leaving at the end of the evening. They stated that there was room for extra parking. If they run out of parking, are they going to park cars along the road, or where would the designated parking be that way? Number 3 would be the environmental impact. You have a feeling the reason they didn't move the building or the driveways or stuff like that is most of that area there is a designated wetland area that has a natural spring and creek that runs through it. I think they only had approval for a small area of the lot due to the fact that most of the area would be inappropriate to put a building on that way with the water. Then my concern would be, where's the runoff from the parking lot, the building, all that going? If it is on the hillside, it appears to me that would run through the parking lot, down the driveway, and then into my property or my driveway that way, which could create flooding and possibly even raising the water table there for flooding any of those houses that are along the access on Burn Road. My fourth concern would be, what type of security is going to be at this event center? The fact that they're going to have 300 people there, which I'm assuming they would oppose for a liquor license, is there going to be any type of security at the event center to make sure that 300 people are under control at that venue? And then my fifth concern would be, what happens if they don't follow the conditional use laws that you guys, or restrictions that you propose for them? Would you be willing to revoke a liquor license that way? All in all, I feel there are definitely better places for an event venue than in a rural area of Burn Road that way. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear my concerns. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brian, you are up next. I believe that's everyone who wants to speak. I've got some other written comments here, though, and people are registered against, but Brian.
Hi, Brian Howland. I live on the south side of Burn Road, the farthest east you can go towards 14. My concerns are the traffic. There's so much traffic on that road. There's a lack of police presence on that road already. The noise of cars going in there and their key fobs, beeping the horn to make sure their car is locked and unlocked, slamming the doors is my concerns. Some people get really happy after weddings. They like to squeal their tires and enjoy that. And then I live by the bridge, so I hear motorcycles, I hear diesel trucks, always revving their motors underneath the bridge. And then our tax values. I mean, if I had a wedding venue to choose a house to buy next to it, I wouldn't. I mean, it really is going to decrease our value of our houses. And just like Jamie's driveway, Jamie having to deal with car lights all the time. I mean, that's kind of absurd. So, but thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, then I've got a few more here. Let's see, Michelle Holland in Oregon, I think, oh, it says Oregon anyway, but it's on Bird Road, I think Fitchburg, registered in opposition with the comment worried about noise, traffic, and disruption of weekends and property values. And then Pat Kane from Fitchburg, registering in opposition with the comment, feel this venue addition in Fitchburg will stimulate the economy in a positive manner, as well as create jobs and other opportunities. Plans of the venue are also both attractive and accommodating. I have Lois Beck from Fitchburg, registering in opposition without a comments. And then Jerry Gunlock, registering in opposition with no comments. And then I've got some letters here. First is from Rick Urban from Fitchburg. I'm writing this letter as unable to attend the meeting. I strongly oppose the building of this wedding venue on Burner Road. Number one, increase traffic on an already busy and dangerous road. Number two, putting a large private septic near Murphy Creek, which feeds directly into Lake Wabisa. 3, extra police presence cost. What will that add to our tax bill for traffic control and drunken drivers? 4, is this not ag exclusive land? And then 5, Fitchburg talks of preserving our agricultural land, and yet we keep building over it. This facility could be built in one of the city's industrial parks where there is existing water and sewer service. And then I've got a note here from Andrew John Laurie. Looks like he's from Fitchburg. My family resides at 5112 Burn Road. Fortunately, both my wife and I are not able to attend this meeting. I'd like to express through this letter that we stand with our neighbors against the proposed event center. We feel that the event center will add significant traffic to this rural area, which would create a less safe situation for all that use our road. Thank you for your consideration. Let's see here. And this is from Lori Lynch. Let's see, my name is Lori Lynch. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the January 18th meeting due to being out of town. I live directly across from the proposed building site of the rural event venue. I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the building of said venue. The increased amount of traffic is one of my top concerns. Safety of my family and the families of my neighbors on Burn Road should be at the forefront of your decision. We've all been to wedding receptions where a great number of guests consume alcohol and then proceed to get into vehicles and drive themselves home. If you are familiar with Burn Road, you know it is a very winding road with a few obstructed views of oncoming traffic. The proposed driveway to said venue is set to be on a very dangerous curve, also with obstructed views of oncoming traffic. I'm a strong advocate against drinking and driving and will do everything in my power to keep my family and neighbors safe. Another of my concerns is the noise pollution. I moved to Burn Road 30 years ago, raised 4 amazing children and am now the caregiver to 2, soon to be 3 beautiful grandchildren. We love living in the country. We can play outside, take walks, enjoy the wildlife. We have a great little creek that runs along the railroad tracks and is not far behind our backyards. It's peaceful here. We can open the windows in the summer and hear the howling of coyotes and the croaking of toads near the creek. Occasionally, we also hear the hooting of owls. That will all change with the venue being built. Our windows will have to be shut as to not hear the music coming from the venue. We'll drive off the sounds of wildlife that we so enjoy. I'm not sure where you all live, but I can imagine that after you have worked a long week at your jobs, the last thing you would want is to have to listen to the sound of traffic and banging music on your weekends at home where you're trying, like myself, to sit and relax outside my backyard. I doubt any of you, including Jeff Schleicher, would want to live across from a wedding venue. I'm not sure you're aware, but we already have a rural wedding venue 5 minutes to the west on Fitchburg Road and 5 minutes to the east on Larson Road. We really need 3 wedding venues within 5 miles of each other. In closing, I would like to thank you for your time and in reading my concerns, and I pray that you will consider my feelings and my opposition to the building of this venue. Thank you. And then this is from Nicole, I'm going to butcher her last name, but Titley, okay. My name is Nicole Titley, and I live at 5020 Burn Road, Fitchburg. Fortunately, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting as I'm waiting on pending COVID results. I wanted to write this letter to state that I am not in favor of the rural event venue proposed by Jeff Schleicher. I've lived in my home for 6.5 years, and I have enjoyed the privacy and safety that this neighborhood has brought. If a venue were to be brought in, I fear those 2 main attributes would be compromised. I have a 1.5-year-old and 2 dogs, and personally would like to continue raising them in a quiet country setting instead of among the revolving door of people that will come through on every venue. Every event, maybe. Thank you for your time. I hope you take my words into consideration. And that is all I have for public comments, unless I missed someone. Doesn't look like it. All right, so I can close the public hearing on conditional use permit, open up to comments, questions from the planning commission. I don't know if someone on agricultural affairs would like to speak to your discussion there.
Sure, I can address that. Ag and Rural voted 5-1 to recommend denial of this application. The concerns have been pretty well laid out by the public tonight, so I won't repeat them. We would need to approve this to find that a number of things are true, to approve a conditional use. And it was the position of Ag and Rural that items 1, 2, and 5 of those 6 could not be met. The first is that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health or safety. We don't feel that that condition can be met. The second, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. And finally, we don't think it's possible for adequate measures to be taken to provide ingress and egress designed to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. So on those bases, Ag and Rural recommends denial.
All right. Rich?
I was going to mention the same thing. The part, Matt Jones' comments about not being able to use his property anymore kind of hit me. I was in favor of this when I walked in the door today. My only complaint was they did not show the overflow parking on the site plan. And I was wondering what happened with it, but that's a moot point because I'm against the project.
Do you want to speak to the overflow parking at least?
Yeah, it's on the west side of the driveway, but north of the 200-foot buffer.
So it's there, but it's not on the site plan?
It's not on the site plan.
That was my point.
Yep.
Randy?
Well, I sit on the Ag and Rural as well, and I think Ed summed it up quite well. I don't know if we need to go through it again, but the biggest concerns that I have is the traffic and the noise. And I've received a number of complaints from our constituents that are against the project because of noise, potential noise, and the traffic itself. I mean, you can just look at a Google map, and you can see the difficulty it is to get to the venue, and the potential of accidents occurring, in my mind, are pretty evident. So I hold to my earlier vote of no.
One of the questions I have, I guess, and I don't know if you talked about this in Agricultural Affairs, is that, we just recently approved this, and I think it was very popular and approved by everyone. It seems to me that most rural roads in Fitchburg are going to be unsafe then, and most of them are going to have this as a traffic problem. So I guess, I don't know if you talked about this, but it seems like if you're saying that traffic is going to be a problem and the roads are going to be safe, that would preclude pretty much any rural event venue like this from happening. I don't know if you talked about that, but I guess that's my thought.
We did talk about this. This is a particularly bad stretch of road, with the venue being sandwiched in between railroad tracks and the overpass, and a windy road going, you got a windy road going to the east, and then going to the west, you got to go up and down hill again. So this is probably, in that respect, one of the worst places you could put something like this. But we did discuss what would be more appropriate, and I think we're in general agreement that a county highway, it would be a much better place for something like this, and we did approve a rural event venue very recently, and one of the things that we talked about at that meeting was that it was on a county highway. I mean, it's right on Fish Hatchery Road, and it's right near Highway M as well. So people getting in and out to that location, it's just a much safer situation with roads that are built for that kind of traffic, whereas Burn Road really is not.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy, and then George after that.
Again, it's not the concept at all. It's just really the location where it comes down to. That's where we have the issue.
Roads can be changed, but the neighbors, you can't fix that. I think that's one of the most heaviest points against this is the impact on the neighborhood, the neighbors.
Steve?
I kind of echo what the mayor had said in terms of, what is the ideal location? So the Ag and Rural Affairs says, county highway, well, there's limited county highway that would be appropriate. I think almost anywhere that you go, you're going to be, I'm looking at our future land use map just to look, it's spotted with houses throughout the rural area of Fitchburg. That's the nature of how the city was built. A lot of these houses are pre-Fitchburg being a city. So I feel like this is a bit of a catch where we've approved the ability to have a conditional use permit, but yet there's not, maybe there are a few, but it doesn't feel like, if you went here, it'd be really great, because no matter what, there's gonna be a neighbor within an earshot of the location. There's hardly any place in Fitchburg where it's just miles and miles of expansive open area on a county highway or better, et cetera, et cetera. So I hear what the neighbors are saying, but I also, I guess I feel like it's a bit of a catch for us to say, hey, we're open for business to have rural event venues, and then, well, we're not going to approve it because of, no matter where, it's not going to be a good enough spot for it. I guess that's just where I'm coming from. I still would like to approve this.
Lisa, I just had another question. I know staff had recommended approval. Did they ask the applicant to apply to some of these things or address some of these issues?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about like the ordinance requirements, right? And then also staff review. So when we're, our transportation engineer reviewed the proposal and they did not require a traffic impact analysis at that time. Because they felt they didn't need the additional analysis to like better understand the potential traffic impacts. That's not to say that that's not something that we could require, right? If we want to get a better understanding of how much traffic is there going to be on Burn Road. So when staff reviews it based on the city ordinances that are in place and asks the applicant to respond to those, this item did not come up from Public Works or from our transportation engineer. Planning staff also reviewed the ordinance as adopted, and they address the standards, from our perspective, that are outlined in the ordinance. The ordinance does say that, the increase in traffic generated cannot create a nuisance to nearby residents by way of traffic, noise, or significant increases in parking. So I think it's certainly valid to, refer to the potential traffic impact and wanting to understand that a little bit better. I think just one thing that everyone should keep in mind, and I did just talk briefly with the city attorney about, how do you evaluate conditional use permits, and when you choose to approve or deny, what do you have to look to? So this is another thing that, we've referred to this Wisconsin Act 67 from the state that was adopted in 2017 for a variety of projects, and that continues to impact the way that we implement our ordinances and consider applications. So per state statute, if an applicant meets or agrees to meet all of the requirements and conditions specified in our city ordinances or imposed by the city board, then the city shall grant the conditional use permit. And any condition imposed must be related to the ordinance and be based on substantial evidence. And a city's decision to approve or deny must be supported by substantial evidence. And they do define substantial evidence as facts and information other than merely personal preference or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and conditions an applicant must meet to obtain a CUP. So the city attorney had recommended that if this Plan Commission has questions about whether or not they're able to comply with the ordinance, specifically this question of, like, let's say traffic being a nuisance, that she would recommend tabling the conditional use permit to allow the applicant to address those concerns, specifically because as planning staff, I didn't receive these comments from the public regarding their concerns, and then they were also not addressed by staff, so the applicant hasn't had the opportunity to provide any evidence to the contrary. So, would we meet with Public Works staff to understand, okay, well, what is Burn Road actually designed for? Like, what kind of traffic is it meant to be accommodated for? What kind of improvements are planned in the future? Or would we ask them to provide a traffic impact analysis and do trip generation rates, to do peak hour trips, things like that? Because right now, it's, the police department, for example, did not provide any comments about traffic incidents on Burn Road or concerns about safety. So it's just a matter of having that substantial evidence when you're making a decision on a conditional use permit, and then also allowing the applicant, I think, the opportunity to respond to those concerns, since it appears that they're only coming up this evening. So those are sort of my thoughts on both the compliance with the ordinance, how the application has been reviewed, and potential next steps. But, we've provided conditions of approval. If you would like to approve it, you can amend those conditions. You can choose to deny it, or you can choose to table it.
Okay, so I want to understand that what I think I heard is that, kind of based on conditional use rules and things like that, because some of these things weren't brought up, to deny it, we could be in trouble as a city. So it sounds like our best bet might be to postpone, to ask for more information on some of these concerns. I mean, we could approve it also, but it sounds like maybe staff is, or at least the, legal is kind of saying that the best bet is probably to postpone and get more information. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, so that was the recommendation, and the way she explained it is, like, you can say, oh, the project's gonna increase traffic, but what's the impact, and how do we substantiate that claim that, yes, there's gonna be an increase in traffic, but does that mean that there's an increase in accidents, or that it creates an unsafe environment, or things like that. So I think there might be just an opportunity for the applicant to provide more information, as well as for facts to come from city staff in terms of, traffic concerns on Burn Road and things like that.
Stephen, looks like you have a
Yeah,
question.
I think one of the pieces of feedback from the neighbors on the south side of Burn Road that I think really did resonate with me is the fact that the driveway for this event venue is directly across from the two houses most to the west. I would like to see if we're gonna table this and have you come back with more information, to also look at the feasibility of moving that driveway maybe further west, so that, I think that's a fair point, that as you're leaving an event at 11 o'clock at night, you've got just line of cars with lights facing towards 2 or 3 houses right there. If that moves a little bit to the west, closer to the railroad tracks, if that's feasible, that takes care of that. I think, and to the point of what we need to address and what are actual facts, and you know, the idea of people drink at weddings and they're gonna be driving on roads and it's unsafe, you can say that anywhere, at any time. That, to me, is not the reason to deny conditional use, but certainly disruption of the neighbors, you know, privacy and peace there, that's one thing that I could at least see. If you move that, that seems like a good step forward, plus an additional, like the traffic impact. It's easy to say, well, there's 100 cars every 2 to 3 days or whatever it might be. Honestly, are you gonna always have a 300-person wedding? Mine was less than half that. So I think, you know, looking at some of that might actually give some better context for us to really evaluate it more appropriately.
Okay.
I would definitely be in favor of getting some more information. I like the project. I like the idea. I think it's a beautiful plan. I am also really concerned about the feedback that the neighbors gave us, and about the, you know, concerns about noise, traffic, and safety. But if we can get some information that really shows that this will actually, you know, be safe enough, we can potentially, you know, move the driveway, do a noise study, do a traffic study. I would feel comfortable moving forward.
Other comments, questions? Ed?
This is something new, the idea that a municipality does not have the right to decide whether or not to allow a conditional use. That we have some obligation that because we have conditional use in our ordinance, that we have to provide it to everyone that comes along unless we can prove that for some reason we can't accept it. I don't know where this is coming from. I disagree with it entirely. We should have every right as a municipality to make our own decisions with regard to whether or not to approve a conditional use. This is no different. There's nothing you can do to fix the problem with the location of this venue. Great venue, great idea, wrong location, and you can't fix it. So we can delay this. We can make all the neighbors have to wonder, well, what are they gonna do? Now we have to wait another month or 2 months before we know what's gonna happen. I don't think that's right. I really don't. I mean, I think that we should make a decision tonight, and I think we should deny this. But that's my opinion. I am not in favor of tabling this.
Other comments, questions, anything like that?
For the purpose of moving things forward, I'm going to move approval of this request with the conditions as noted for the conditional use.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stephen. All right, so we're gonna do a roll call on this one, because I'm not gonna try and guess what it would be otherwise.
Okay. Ready? Udell?
No.
Heller?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Ed?
No.
Rich?
No.
Emily?
No.
Okay, so it's
Oh,
sorry,
there's still
Zach.
one more.
I apologize.
Don't forget Zach.
Billings?
No.
Okay. So it's 5 noes, 2 yeses.
All right, so that is denied. And we can go on to the ADR, which I don't know if you deny, you still,
You still have to take a vote.
okay. All right. Then we have the ADR. Are there any additional comments on the ADR at all?
Is this moot point, or there's,
We have to vote on it.
You could postpone indefinitely, you could vote on it, you can make a motion on it. There's a couple different options. You need to do something with it, you can't just
All right.
ignore it.
I guess any suggestion from staff?
I would just vote to deny it.
Okay.
Yeah. well, sorry. I guess if you've denied the conditional use permit, which would enable the use, then it would make more sense to deny the architectural design review because it can't be constructed without the CUP.
Would an option also be to table it until this, an approved CUP?
For the record, I think it doesn't affect their ability to resubmit the architectural design review. Yeah.
So that would just get, okay.
Okay.
All right. Motion?
Yeah, I'll move denial of the ADR.
Second.
Sent by Randy. All in favor of denying, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right. That is denied.
Okay. And then just process-wise, the applicant is able to appeal a conditional use permit to the Common Council. So it may appear on the council agenda at a later date if the applicant chooses to appeal. So just keep that in mind.
All right, excellent. I think similar to the telecommunications tower, which they are appealing to the council. All right, going back up to D, public hearing and consideration of the conditional use permit CU 2425-22. I'm not sure if, is it Neha Ali or someone else? Oh, it looks like maybe online. If Sarah and Nia? All right, so if one of you would like to tell us what you are trying to do here, that would be great.
Hi, yes. My name is Neha Ali. So we are looking to open up a COVID testing site at 6231 McKee Road, Suite D. So we do work under Center for COVID Control, which is our marketing and management company. We are offering testing, so rapid antigen testing as well as PCR testing for all patients with or without insurance. It is free of charge to patients. And the method of testing that we offer, it is a nasal self-swab. So we are there. It is a guided testing process. We do provide all of the documentation, so it can be used for travel, school, work, all of that. The results do get sent out the same day, and they are received through email. With the patient will register with all of their information when they come in, and they can get tested. It is on a walk-in basis. So we are looking. I do have heard that there are a lot of concerns and a need for the testing in the area. So that is why we are looking to open up in that specific area to be able to provide that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah.
All right, first we're gonna do a staff report. So go ahead, Lisa.
Sure. So the conditional use is technically for a health services use, which includes the testing site. So they don't actually do the lab tests on site and they get sent off. So that's why it is considered a health service as opposed to like a lab kind of a use. So in terms of a conditional use permit, so, you know, one of the things we usually take a look at is parking. And one of the things to note with the application is that they noted they average about 44 visits per hour, with visits being about 10 minutes each. Generally, this parking lot was designed with the assumption for all these suites having a retail use, which is one stall per 300 square feet, which would require about 5 stalls for this suite. There are a couple of conditional use permits that have been issued for this property, including a Jimmy John's and a Buffalo Wild Wings, which increased the parking demand, and the property owner accommodated some of those parking requirements by designated parking in a lot located just to the south, which they own as well. So, you know, if we use the assumption of a retail use, although this is health services, but we don't have parking standards for that kind of a use, our transportation engineer did some just kind of base modeling and determined that they would likely exceed the 5 stall minimum with the 2 to 5 employees that they have on their application. So I think generally, you know, staff have some concerns about the parking demand, but we also don't have data, let's say, about how much parking is available per hour at the site either. So if Plan Commission chooses to approve the application, we do have 3 conditions of approval.
All right, I will open the public hearing. I do not have anyone from the public that I have registered to speak on this, so I can close the public hearing, open up to questions or comments from Plan Commission.
I have a question. Lisa, are we aware whether there are problems in that parking lot with insufficient parking presently?
Sure. So I haven't myself received any complaints. I don't visit that part of the city. I don't visit that area. It is, they have minimum parking requirements that they have provided for retail users in that area that meet the parking standards for the city. Looking at some memos, again, for the 2 restaurants that have been approved in that area, they, again, provided the minimum parking demand. So unfortunately, I just don't have information specifically here.
I used to work out when it was still Gold's and when it just first transitioned to Princeton. Because of that overflow into their parking lot, Buffalo Wild Wings often would park there, but it would almost offset itself as people were leaving the gym at 5:36, 6:30. That's when the restaurant gets busier and busier. I can see the same thing here where this is mostly during the day. And if you look more, a little bit towards the west, then in front of the swim school and in front of dwellings, that's all empty. I mean, it's across that access road, but there's a lot there. It's not within their parking lot, but, across that street or whatever that would be considered. It's pretty open.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too when I've been in there on nights and weekends. I've never had any trouble if I'm going to Steve's or BW3. I've never had any trouble finding a parking place. I mean, there's a lot of cars there, but it's not full. I guess I'm not concerned about that issue.
Actually, if I could ask one question to the applicant real quick. Do you have other locations in the area?
Yes. So we do have one in Verona right now, and that's basically the numbers that we had used to provide as far as the average goes. People usually pre-register and then they will come in just to do the testing. So they are in and out fairly quickly. It hasn't really been an issue as far as the other sites go. And then we are looking to open up other ones as well, depending on where there is a need for it.
So you're not the company that I just read about that was having some issues and they closed down shortly. I think they had 4 or 5 locations in the area.
So the umbrella company is the same, which is Center for COVID Control. However, the individual locations that are being opened are not being opened by this one person. They are individual locations. So I can speak for myself and say that none of my locations have been on the media, have been on the news. However, us being under that company, I guess it does affect everyone as a whole. But like I said, they are individual people opening up the company, the locations.
Question that I would have is with a conditional use, God willing, this is something that's not going to be needed in 6 months or a year from now. What happens? Does it just expire if they leave the premises, or what?
Yeah, so if a conditional use is, what's the term? Basically not in use for 12 months, it can expire, or you can place a date on it as well, or it runs with the land. So you could continue, let's say a COVID clinic is open for 20 years, they could remain.
I'd just like to add in, that parking lot, I have difficulty coming and going out of that parking lot all the time when I go over there. The egress in and out is terrible. I cannot imagine adding 40 cars an hour coming and going to this. Parking itself may not be an issue in that there's always a ton of spots across the way, but people are not going to try to park there. They're going to pull in, they're going to drive through that parking lot, and then they're going to try to pull out while other people are trying to pull in. People are now going to be crossing the street on a regular basis, trying to get across. I have nothing but concerns about this. I think it's a terrible location to have that much traffic coming and going. It's not a great spot.
I agree with Zach. I've gone to the yoga studio there quite a bit, and just pulling in and out of there is challenging, very challenging. And I just think, they're not doing drive up like Fitchburg Family Pharmacy is, but I don't know if you're aware of the very, very, very long line that I don't know if they still do, but for a while they had anyway, probably still do. And so I do worry about that as well. And they don't have drive up, but I do have concerns that people are going to try and park in this area, and they're going to pull in, not find a spot, and then pull out. And like Zach mentioned, with the in and out there are other parking spots in the area. However, I am concerned about that piece as well. Rainey?
Yeah, I just need to echo your concerns as well, just from my own experience of, Jimmy John's and in the past and Buffalo Wild Wings. Parking can be something difficult to find. Maybe I'm hitting it at peak hours, I'm not sure, but sometimes we've had to go down to what I know is Gold's as well. But I have some concerns. I just can't picture some long lines of cars coming and going. It doesn't seem practical.
Go ahead, Rich.
I also have concerns about the parking. I too belong to, I don't really belong to any gym. I'm a member of the gym. I've seen a lot of congestion there. I've met my children at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I've gone to Steve's, and I do have trouble parking there. But these guys are not going to be open during the night. They close at 5. Ideally, I think if they could shift their hours earlier, let's say 7 to 4 or something like that, I wouldn't have a problem at all. I think right now they're in a gray area, and the biggest problem I see is strictly the parking. And I do disagree with some of you guys. It does get pretty congested there.
Steven?
I would echo that if this was until 6 or 7 p.m. for conditional use, I'd say absolutely not. By 4 o'clock would be even better than 5 o'clock. The other thing to point out is we always talk about being such an inclusive city. This is one of the few testing sites that's right by a bus stop. The other thing I'll point out is last week on Friday, I went to Django RX, the other one that's just in town on Yarmouth Greenway, I think, just north, behind the U.S. Bank on PD, up there in a business park. And I mean, they were busy. It was an appointment, but kind of the same type of thing, drop in. And their parking lot, I think, was probably about maybe 20 cars tops, 18 slots, and it wasn't overflowing. I mean, it was busy as I can imagine it to be. So I also don't know, with 44 people per hour, can you really expect that means 44 cars? Is that 20 cars? Is that 10 cars an hour? So I think just to keep that in consideration, especially with this being right next to a bus stop and looking at the Jamestown neighborhood and other areas around here that might be well served by this. So I can go either way on it, but I'm just to point some of that out.
Emily, did you see it? I thought maybe saw a hand. Maybe not.
Yeah, I've been taking it in. I definitely, like, when I've gone over there, I've had difficulty finding parking. So that does tend to be, like after 5 o'clock though, when they won't be open. But I do agree, if they could like shift their hours earlier, all the better. I do like that it is near a bus station though. I think that is a benefit.
Nia, I guess the question for you, Neha, is, it sounds like people are wondering about even just operations from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., or if you want to do earlier, you can. Do you want to kind of respond to that, or do you have any thoughts on having a 4 p.m. close time instead?
Yes, absolutely. We are open to doing that. If that is what you guys would like, then yes, we can definitely do 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. or, shift the hours so that we can be closed by 4 p.m. And then the traffic coming in later on will have enough parking. Absolutely.
It sounds like we're open to whenever you want to open. If you want to keep it at 9, you can. If you want to do earlier, you can. I think our biggest concern is closing at, 4 or 5 o'clock. And if it could be, sounds like 4 o'clock, people would be more open to.
Sure. Yeah, 4 o'clock is good.
Okay. Do you have a preference for opening at all?
I'm thinking 8 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Other comments, thoughts at all?
So can we add the hours to make that the fourth condition of the CUP?
Well, their hours are number 3, so we could change
Oh, we can
what
change
number
that. And
3
could
is.
we also just put a sunset in there of say 2 years? What do you think? Because I don't like conditional use permits, period. They're open-ended. I'd like to see every one of them have a canned deadline or end date. It's sort of like an ongoing project. It has to end.
Kind of like the one across the street for the ready-mix concrete that we renewed. We can renew it. It's not like you can't
that's
renew
fine.
it.
That's fine. But then it comes before us. But Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, so you can set, like a sunset date on a conditional use permit, and then just to clarify, for the ordinance, it's if the use ceases for a period of 24 or more months, then the CUP shall expire.
So why don't we just set it to expire 2 years from today, and then they can always come back too?
Well, is it 2 years from today or 2 years
Or
from
from the
opening?
approval, or the,
It would probably be easier to track it based on the approval rather than their opening
yeah.
date, but.
So is that okay with everybody? Okay.
With that, I will move to approve conditional use permit CU 2425-22 with the first two conditions as noted by staff, the third condition amended to read Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and a fourth condition that it would sunset 2 years from today.
Second.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going on now to E and F. They're combined, or they're the same project anyway. Public hearing and consideration of the conditional use permit CU 2426-22 for the school use. I'm not sure who wants to, got Grant here and David and
That is Kirk Keller.
Kurt, yeah, okay. Oh, there it is. All right. Thank you.
I've worked with you at Erdman.
All right, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for looking and talking about our project. We're very excited about it. My name's Grant Demo. I'm one of the founders of the school. I'm basically one of the persons leading the project management for St. Ambrose. I'm going to be presenting who St. Ambrose is and several key items that we're looking to be considered by the Plan Commission. I'd also like to introduce Diane Marsland, who's online. She's my co-leader with this project. Her family is, again, another founder of the school.
Good evening, I'm Kirk Keller. I'll serve as the architectural project manager. I'm with Plunkett Rasich Architects. I think many of you may know our firm from working with a lot of educational institutions in the area. And joining us online, I'll let Mr. Wade Wise introduce himself.
Yeah, Wade Wise, Wiser Engineering, part of the project team representing the civil engineering aspects for the project.
Okay. I'd like to start off by saying, why is St. Ambrose Academy in Fitchburg? Well, St. Ambrose Academy has been in existence for 20 years. It's a Catholic classical education for 6th to 12th grades. And steady growth has really led us toward a severe need for our own site. We examined over 20 sites. Diane could correct me, it's probably more than that, throughout the county, mainly because we draw from the entire county. We draw from basically a 40-mile radius for students. Why Fitchburg? Well, location. We've heard it tonight already in some of your meetings. Location is everything, and to be perfectly frank, Fitchburg is right smack dab in the middle of our whole constituency. We were fortunate to have a relationship with David Fahey, and when we had looked at other sites, and when we came around, came up to be the best site, we talked with David again, and of course he's been very accommodating, especially since the site had built into it an institutional use. One of the points to bring up is with regard to the size of the site, and because it kind of leads to other issues, which is, as you remember, the land use was amended from 10 to 5 acres, and of course more acreage is better. But we, being a nonprofit, we're constrained by cost. And so the developer and both the city worked with us to kind of match that space. So one of the reasons was cost that we drove to 5 acres. But the reality too is that then drives other decisions that will come up as we speak. We're very excited as a community to be part of Fitchburg, both the immediate and in fact the entire Fitchburg community, and really being an anchor for an intentional Catholic community. We expect, and have already talked to people who are very excited about moving into this area. And we expect our sense is just the fact of us moving into a new building to grow. And so we're very excited. One of the main things I want to make sure I put out here, because we're here to explain some of our issues. We really have 3 main concerns that we want to bring up, and we've done a lot of work already to help alleviate them. And again, besides whatever you may ask us today. One is really the coordination with the developer on early below-grade infrastructure. That is work that leads toward an earlier than normal above-grade construction. We really want to work closely with the developer as they build out the infrastructure so that we're literally right behind it, both mainly to facilitate our above-ground work because of our schedule. And again, we've already started some of those conversations with the fire department and the city to help alleviate any concerns. Another issue that is important to bring up is really our phase development leading to a future access to Street F. With the meeting of all public access and safety requirements, an access road to Street F at this time is not really within the scope of our planned construction. Parking and building square footage would be reduced, and stormwater management needs would have to be reevaluated and probably increased in size to accommodate this access. Finally, regarding a traffic study, St. Ambrose, we've provided traffic demographic data that really has not changed in over the last year to 2 years since we did a traffic study in Verona. And additionally, we're happy to validate the traffic impact analysis that was done by the developer already for the entire development. It's our hope that in and of itself will obviate the need for another traffic analysis. Thus, St. Ambrose is really here to request approvals and recommendations from the Plan Commission to achieve these goals. Specifically, we request the Plan Commission approve our project to start above grade construction prior to completion and acceptance of the public improvements directly adjacent to the St. Ambrose site without the compromise of any safety aspects. Thank you for listening to me, and to begin this discussion, I'll ask Wade to describe the work to date.
Yeah, so thanks, Grant. From the civil engineering and site design perspective, as Grant alluded to, we have worked with the developer. We've worked with them from an access perspective to make sure that there's a correct median location. Those discussions are still ongoing, but to identify the access that is critical for us and works within the public improvement plan. Similarly, we've worked with them on stormwater management. I've identified there is a regional stormwater management plan in place to provide water quality and water quantity, and infiltration will be handled on site by our own bioretention facilities. So again, just showing more cooperation there. I'd like to also hit on Grant's point about the request for an early start above grade construction part of the project as well. The existing utilities at the intersection of Nobel and Street F are there in place now. So there's access to water. There are utilities there that allow for safe construction of our project. So we'd like to ask the Plan Commission consider allowing the above grade construction to start as the ongoing public improvements are being constructed. Lastly, just the access again and the fire access to the site. We have a ability to make a turnaround in the site, and we've actually moved the building in accordance with the ordinance closest to the street. to allow the new public streets to serve as fire lanes. So we've not only provided a turnaround in our site, but we are close enough to the streets to qualify per your ordinance as fire access. So we feel the secondary access to the site is not warranted given the 5-acre limitation for space needs that we have. Those are the highlights of the civil engineering, and I'm available to answer any questions as we progress, and I'll turn it over to Kirk.
Thank you, Wade. I just have to echo and put a date on here to talk about that. We're really here to serve the children who go to St. Ambrose. And that means we want to open for the students in September of 23, so staff needs to be in there in August of 23. And if you back up the construction timeframe and you...
I'm sorry to interrupt. So you keep talking about wanting to start early, and that's an early start permit, which is a completely different process, and that's something that staff can help you with. We can, as a plan commission, actually just say, oh, yep, go ahead, start early without going through those steps. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just don't want you to keep spending time on that when we can't do anything about that tonight. So this is really for the conditional use permit and the ADR review. And we approve early start permits all the time for people. You just have to go through the process to do that. We can't, and it's actually illegal for open meetings laws for us to say, oh yeah, you can do early start permits without being properly noticed. So I'm sorry to interrupt. I just don't want you to keep talking about the early start permit and understand that we can't actually approve that tonight. So we're open to it. We do it all the time.
Well, yeah, we actually weren't looking to, well, we'd like to have some indication that this was doable. I think that's really our point. Okay. Is that otherwise we are in a position where we're going to have to literally shove our whole construction schedule by months, and that's really what we're up against. So that's really why I want to make sure we brought that up to discuss it, to make sure that it was even feasible possible.
All right. Yeah, that sounded like that was kind of the focus of what I've heard from everyone so far. So sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure you understand that we do that all the time for people, and you just work with staff, and it happens all the time. So it's not something that's unusual or out of the ordinary by any means.
So finishing on that subject, the goal is to get the construction to minimize winter conditions, which is a cost concern that controls what I have to design. What I have here tonight is then the discussion that will be asking for the approval of the first phase for the architectural and a general acknowledgement for the planning intent for the additional phases, with the understanding that we come back for additional architectural review on those future phases. Okay. Then I've also brought specific materials when the board decides that they would like to review and see those materials for that general approval. Be willing to go through those products that are to my left. So we have the exterior design, which I'm going to turn over to Grant for any closing comment, and then back to staff for discussion, and be glad to go over any of your issues. Excellent. Thank you. Grant? Anything?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Do you want them to go through the ADR?
Sure. Do you want to just show the architectural materials briefly?
Do I need to bring this with me?
Yeah, so Zach can hear you online.
Oh, well, it may not be that long.
You got it.
Yeah.
There's another one there, too, on that table. You can use that one.
It did not have a light on it, so I didn't know if it was active.
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a little different. I think the light's on the top of that one instead of turning green.
As you can see from the elevations, the vast majority, and I think, Lisa, there are some color renderings there. You can see that the vast majority of the structure is brick masonry.
Far away. We just want to hear you.
Thank you. That's wonderful. As you look around the building, you see a vast majority is fired brick masonry, and then there are cast architectural stone products. So the brick that we're looking at, right, is the subject brick that you see in front of you, but the size will be a utility brick. Just a matter of scale, cost control, and being able to really put a high percentage of high-quality materials onto the building. Cast stone, architectural grade. You can see around the base how it's used for banding, how it's used around the entry location. So there really are two dominant materials on this building. The windows of the building are two parts, and if Lisa, you could hold right there, that's a perfect spot. You're really seeing kind of the front, kind of the commercial piece as you would enter the building, and that would be aluminum frame, as you would see, traditional clear anodized aluminum materials around it. The windows in the school building themselves are actually a fiberglass material. So it's a cost savings element, but they're fixed windows in a school structure, and they would be a white and a complementary tone that works well with the brick, but it does not, the two pieces do not touch each other at any time. Our goal is then to try to end up with glass that ends up to be very translucent throughout the building. So those are really the key materials that are seen from the street or at walking up or driving up the structure.
Thank you. And there also does appear to just be a little bit of like a composite siding on some portions of the building, correct?
Portion of composite siding that I did not bring a material for, where the religious structure, the oratory structure right there, comes down onto a one-story roof. It's really a challenge to even see it. And it'll come, well, the material, if you choose to approve, then we could certainly review that with staff.
Or sorry, it appears it's like a fiber cement
Yes,
siding, yeah.
that's exactly right.
Mhm. And it would be like a brown kind of a color to match.
It would be a reddish tone that would work with the brick.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll just go over the site plan briefly
I
and
just
then.
want to check,
Oh,
David,
sure.
is there anything you want to add before we go to staff report?
No, I'm just here to answer questions in support of, and I can talk about how it all fits in with what you approve preliminary on the single family, which is adjoining this, and the multifamily site will be, my understanding, on March agenda.
Okay. So just for the record, to go over the site plan briefly. So we have the first phase of the building is here. One of the things that staff had recommended early on was to have a building that sort of holds the corner. So I feel like they provided that by being right here at the Fahey and Noble Drive corner. Then we do show two future additions here, which would be additional classroom space as well as a gymnasium area. And at the request of the applicant, so we are approving phase one here. And then I also included a condition that just notes that the second phase does meet the zoning requirements that are in place, but that they would still have to get ADR approval. And that's mostly because if you don't start construction within 12 months, then your ADR approval expires. So, and because the plans all show it as a future addition, we wouldn't be able to actually approve it as a part of this ADR, as well as the future parking. So we have the entrance primarily on Noble Drive. No concerns from staff about parking, and then they also have a kind of soccer play area as well as an open play area, and then providing stormwater in several locations. And then we can take a look at the floor plan as well. So this is the first floor plan. Again, we have the first phase here with classrooms, their oratory space, as well as administrative offices. Then you can see the gym space here, as well as additional classrooms and an educational space. And then it is a partially two-story building, so the first phase would also include additional classrooms on the second story, and then technically that oratory space, it's kind of a second story just due to the height of the structure. And then we have the architectural details, which we've primarily already gone over. So this is the corner that's facing Nobel and Fahey. And these, I believe, show all the phases. Is that correct? Yep. So here we have the front, and this is from the west elevation. This is the interior parking lot. The details, I think the renderings probably give a little bit better of an idea. So, staff recommendation is for approval. Conditional use permit with one condition, and the architectural design review with 13. And then just to touch on a couple of the things that the applicant had mentioned. So yes, they would need to get earlier issuance of permits from Plan Commission. And this is one of those cases, again, where because it's a brand new subdivision, there are no roads or utilities in place. And that's, I know we've talked a little bit about, well, why do we see a lot of early issuance of permits when maybe they would be suitable for staff approval, but this is one of those times where this is why we have the ordinance in place. And one thing to note is that, yes, we do issue early issuance of permits for projects, but they do have to meet the standards of the ordinance. And that's something that I know Public Works is aware that the request is going to be made, and they're aware of the timing as well. But there are ordinance requirements from a public safety perspective that they have to meet, and staff can continue to coordinate that. But if the timing is a concern, then that's definitely something that the applicant should be working on with the developer specifically. So if you can submit an early issuance of permits application anytime. And then a couple of the kind of outstanding items. So most of the conditions of approval are standard. I've already noted the comment about the phase 2 parking and phase 2 zoning and requiring EDR approval for that. The only other conditions of approval I wanted to point out is that, as I noted in the staff memo, as well as in the comments from Public Works, is that our transportation engineer feels that based on the numbers that were provided in the transportation analysis that they did for their Verona site, that there is a chance that parking could back up to the roundabout, and that could create a traffic issue on the site. And so they have asked that the applicant provide an analysis that states that there's a less than 5% chance that that's likely to occur. And that's a condition of approval that they can work with the Director of Public Works to create an analysis to their satisfaction. I don't know, all the details of, does that require a brand new transportation analysis or amending and providing numbers? I know that the transportation engineer had indicated that they can use the numbers from their current site rather than using like the standards for a school, because a public school is going to be different than the private school operation. So I think we're willing to account for and acknowledge that it isn't a stereotypical public school use in terms of traffic impacts with busing and things like that. But that the transportation engineer just didn't feel comfortable with the analysis that was provided. So there is a condition that they would provide an updated analysis to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, and that if they can't demonstrate that there won't be a backup to the road, that they would provide a second entrance onto Street F. So we have Nobel Drive, and then we have the unnamed street for the Highfield Reserve subdivision. So we would ask them to provide basically a driveway access off the parking lot here, which in the future, they do plan to provide parking in this area, and it would primarily be located where they already are planning to have impervious surface. I mean, it could potentially be located anywhere, but it could be integrated into their future parking plans. So that's just a comment regarding traffic. And then there's also a condition in there that site plan modifications to accommodate fire access and traffic circulation may be approved administratively. So a couple of the other comments about the parking is, here you can see the fire turn radiuses that were provided show some overlap into the parking spaces. So might just need to reconfigure that, but no major concerns there. And then whether or not that traffic will have to, or the drive will have to be provided. So those are the recommendations from Public Works staff. And that's all I have.
All right, then I will open the public hearing. I do not have anyone from the public registered or here anymore to speak, so I can close that and open up to questions, comments from Planning Commission. One question I had, do you provide bus service to the school?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right, because that would be my concern, is just how do the buses drop people off? Because I know that's a concern at the schools I work at, so that's not a problem then. Other questions, comments? Ed?
Sure. So I think you had mentioned before the traffic analysis, but just specific with regard to the roundabout issue, can you address how you would propose to resolve that?
Yeah, I guess I've already made contact with the same people who did Taddy out of Milwaukee, who did did the one in Verona. I've also supplied them with the traffic analysis that was done by Veridian. I'll find out. I mean, basically, that's all I can say at this point. Most of the time, we've seen enough of a traffic right now where we see, have seen up to 8 cars, backed up. I don't know that it'll go all the way to the roundabout. So I mean, I have anecdotal evidence that we don't necessarily have that kind of backup, but I can't just say that without having somebody actually look through it and do the actually do the analysis, so.
Okay.
Rich?
I was dismayed to see that it was a Verona TIA. I was quite surprised, but, so Lisa, so is this going to be an additional condition then to the conditional use permit, follow through with the TIA?
Right now, I have it listed as a part of the architectural design review, just because it would either affect the site plan or it would not.
Okay,
Yeah.
but so when we vote, the ADR will have 7, is that right?
There's 13
We'll
on
have-
the ADR.
Yeah,
It's number.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one, yeah, okay.
we skipped around in the memo a little bit tonight.
Okay,
Yep.
Another question I had, do you provide church services at all? Are you gonna have church services?
You that basically for our community, that's what it's for. It would not be necessarily open for public. We haven't talked to the diocese about that, but the intent is for our community. That's it. It's not a parish, so it's just literally a chapel for the school.
And so, do you know when, so is it just for the kids there? So it's not like a Sunday, everyone who's part of this?
Yeah, I never want to say never,
Right,
but,
okay. That's
the
not in the
idea would
plans
be,
right now.
the idea would be mass during the week, correct?
Okay.
Right.
Other questions or comments at all? Or a motion?
I'll move to approve conditional use permit CU 2425-22 with the one condition as noted by staff.
Second.
Sent by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Hearing none, that is approved. ADR?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, we still got the ADR. I think you'll be all right, but there's one more here.
So I'll move approval of the ADR for St. Ambrose Academy with the 14 conditions noted by staff.
13.
13, because the condition was already in there.
Yeah, number 9 is the
Traffic
one.
was number 9.
Okay,
Second.
with the 13.
All right, sent by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, now we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You all, again.
Thank you. All right, one more item, resolution R0522. Are you handling this one, I'm guessing, Lisa? All right, go for it.
Yep, so this is a resolution to approve a private sanitary sewer easement to a private property across the Cannonball Trail corridor. So Plan Commission reviews easements on public land. And this is due to some work done by the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District in the Cannonball Trail corridor, which we actually approved a CUP, I think, a year or two ago to allow that work. So this is just basically putting the easement in where there were private laterals placed. So pretty straightforward.
All right, any questions or comments?
Move approval of resolution 05-22.
Sent by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Report from the department. I know you got a few things for us.
I do. So first, just a procedural update for the tower on Delview Drive. So the applicant did appeal the decision to council, which is permitted per our ordinance. And it will be on the February 22nd council agenda. And then once they, I guess, finish their options with the city, it could also then ultimately go to city court, or circuit court, depending on how the council decision goes. So we'll continue working on that with the city attorney. And then, I don't know if everybody is aware, but the city did hire a new city planner, Deanna Schmidt. So she is a city planner currently in Pasadena, Texas, but she's a native of Greene County, so we'll be coming back to Wisconsin.
She's it.
Yeah, and she's got, I think a good background, and I think, hopefully will be a good fit for the city.
The 28th is her first day?
Her first day is January 31st, so it's a Monday. And then I also would like to let Plan Commission know that my last day with the city will be on February 18th, because I've accepted a new job with the city of Madison in their planning department. It's been a really great opportunity working for the city, and I've enjoyed the opportunity being the interim city planner as well. And I'll be sorry to go, but looking forward to the new opportunity to grow as a planner at Madison.
What did you say the last day?
Her first day will be January 31st, and then my last day will be February 18th. So I'll still be here for the next Plan Commission meeting, but I assume that Deanna will be taking the lead, but I'll be here to support that. That's all I've got.
Can we talk you out of that?
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, that's enough announcements, I think. I don't have anything else anyway. And so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Randy,
Second.
seconded by Steven. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, we are adjourned.